Good evening and welcome to the F1Stop show. I'm your host Sam Oni, and with me is Wes Spearman. Wes, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. It's race week already. Believe it or not. I think I saw something earlier this week that it's the earliest an F1 season has started since 2002, 21 years, which was the 2nd of March. I think that season started. So, yeah, looking forward to it. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Excited that F1 is back. Uh, another opportunity to watch, listen to 23 races this season. And one thing I'm looking forward to is I'm looking forward to how the midfield teams, not so much the top three, but how the midfield teams will get on this season because I think that's where we've had the biggest shake-ups in terms of like driver changes and stuff like that. Because there are one or two new faces that will be on the grid in Bahrain this weekend that we don't know of, so it will be very exciting. So last week we had F1 testing cars in their new liveries, getting gathering data on the track in Secure, and doing everything they can to prepare for the big weekend. And what do you make of it? What did you find out?
Um, it's interesting because I've got some stats up here, and that Alpha Tauri did the most laps, 456. McLaren did the least, 313. But then looking at not necessarily timings, but sort of pace that they gained or they lost compared to sort of this time last year in testing, Williams have actually gained the most, or lost the
I
most, if
saw
you
that.
or lost the most, if you like, just under 2.4 seconds. Aston Martin pretty much exactly the same. It's like 7 thousandths of a second that separate them. Whereas Alpine have actually gotten worse a little bit, albeit by less than a tenth of a second. So it's not exactly that much. Um, but it's just interesting. You got Red Bull with 1.4 seconds gained. Mercedes 2 seconds quicker than testing last year, but we don't know how much these teams are sort of sandbagging. If you like, Alpine could have more sand than the Sahara Desert in their car. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Williams are a lot quicker than last year. I think the cars this year are just quicker than last year. I think Verstappen was over a second quicker on his first lap or something, or on day one than testing last year. Um, yeah, Sunday or or Saturday or Friday, just free practice, qualifying, whatever. We get to see what these cars can really do.
As you mentioned, Max Verstappen was fastest. I think he was fastest on both days, rather. Um, I watched the clips on YouTube, and he said that the car's feeling good, all that stuff. Um, okay, so testing's done. What from testing, which is not really well, you can't really see much from it. What teams? What teams do you think are gonna spring out and surprise us this season? If you had to pick two teams that you think will surprise us this season, who would they be, or who do you
Um,
think they will be?
I think one, hopefully AlphaTauri. They didn't have a great season last year. I think finished eighth, was it? Which is obviously not where they want to finish, being actually a junior team to Red Bull, who have walked away with it last year pretty much. I think Nick De Vries is a great addition to the team, albeit at the loss of Pierre Gasly. But De Vries' debut in F1 for Williams last year at Monza, I believe. I mean, points finish in a Williams in your first race in F1 is a pretty darn good start. So yeah, looking forward to see what he can do alongside Yuki Tsunoda. Interesting to see what Fernando Alonso does at Aston Martin. See if him and Lance Stroll have gotten over there. They're coming together. I think was it Cota last year. But again, Alfa Romeo just so sort of Haas as well. Those teams at sort of the back of the grid, see how much they have improved, if you like, on last year. And it is those teams that are leading the way on most time gained. Williams, like I say, just under 2.4 seconds. Aston Martin, again, pretty much the same. Haas has gained the least, if you like, 0.86 seconds. But again, Haas had a surprisingly decent season last year, so hopefully they can put in the same performances, if not better, now that they've got a more experienced driver pairing in Magnussen and Hulkenberg. I think to get back to your question, I think AlphaTauri, one that could surprise us. I'm going to say Alfa Romeo as well.
Okay, that's good. I think I'm gonna say Alfa Romeo as well because I thought last season I was quite impressed by them, especially Guan Yu Zhou, because I think he got a decent few points last season, like 1 or 2 points, I believe. Um, so I'm gonna be looking out for them Alfa Romeo this season because I think Guan Yu Zhou did quite a good stint on the second day, I believe, of testing, where he finished, I believe, maybe like fourth in testing, something like that. So it's gonna look. Hopefully, it looks good for the Alfa Romeo team. Um, Another team who I hope will do well is I'm gonna say Alpine because um, you know an all French lineup, Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon. Um, I think for them, they should try and knock on the door of the top three, if you like. I mean, well, that would mean maybe 1 or 2 podiums, trying to cement that fourth place, but just knock on the door of the top three. Try and say, hello, we're right here. You're not going to run away with it if you like. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping for the season.
Yeah, I think I just want to mention something else about testing. Did you see Haas's pit wall in Bahrain?
No, I didn't. Tell us.
They've only got 3 seats, whereas I got a picture here, and you've got Haas with 3 seats, and then Red Bull's underneath, which has 7. It's quite a stark difference.
I think I saw that yesterday or a couple of days ago. Yeah, I
I
saw
think
that.
Haas is saying that saves them something ridiculous like $250,000, which is just insane for. Yeah, there's a lot of computers there and some seats as well, but 250 grand for some
So
seats,
how are the
basically.
pit? So how are Gunther Steiner and the pit crew gonna do all their work then on qualifying and race days if
I'm
there's
not
no
entirely
seats?
sure. I don't know. I'd like to
Because
know
surely
how.
you're not gonna be.
Yeah,
Go
sorry,
on.
go on. I'd like to know how much work actually gets done um, on that pit wall and what they're actually all talking about, because it seems like you've got your driver's engineer, which I assume sits there, and presumably your strategy, a couple of strategy guys as well, and team principal. But it seems like a lot of people are gathered around there. And do you need all that, all those people on the pit wall all at once? And maybe not. But maybe that's just that pit wall is just for testing. Maybe we'll see them back to a 7 or 8 seater configuration this weekend in Bahrain.
So well, like you said, Bahrain, the start of the Grand Prix. Um, if we cast our minds back to last year, both Red Bulls they didn't finish the race last year. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez DNF. Different different outcome this season, this weekend.
I mean, you'd like to think so. I think if Red Bull back end of last year were a lot more reliable and a lot quicker than Ferrari and Mercedes, for that matter. Not, I can't remember if they're partnering with Ford already. If Ford are helping Red Bull powertrains, or if that's to come in, say like 2026 when Audi are coming in. I can't quite remember on that. Yeah, you'd like to think that Red Bull will still be up there and will be more reliable than certainly what they were at the start of last season. Verstappen DNF'd in 2 of the first 3 races, I think. Obviously DNF'd in Bahrain. I think DNF'd in Australia as well, was it? The third race. Yeah, you'd like to think that Red Bull will be, well, the team to beat, I suppose, given constructors and drivers champions last year. Hopefully see more of a fight from Mercedes again this year, back to where they were. I can't see them screwing up as much as they did last year. Yeah, again, I'd still like to see Ferrari in the mix, of course. I would like to see Ferrari top step of the podium. Yeah, I think I mentioned last week I'd like to see Ferrari again on the podium, or just challenging Red Bull and Mercedes if they're up to the pace. It's just a challenge, just a battle, a scrap for the top two places. Yeah. Like we saw to some extent last year with Verstappen and Leclerc for a good few laps in the middle of the race, but obviously Red Bull DNF'd in the end, so it was fairly plain sailing for Ferrari. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who comes out on top on Sunday.
Speaking of who comes out on top on Sunday, let's hear your predictions then. But so last season we did the whole qualifying, race win, and driver of the day. I was thinking we play a little game of who comes out on top, higher or lower sort of thing. So the game is we pick an event, qualifying or race day, where we both select two drivers and we ask the opposite person who comes out on top. Driver number one or driver number two. So I'll let you do the honours. Go on. As for the first race.
I'm going to go with
So
Fernando
Alonso. The question
is...
Sorry. Question is, qualifying, who comes out on top? Yeah, go on. You give me options.
So qualifying, who's going to qualify higher, Fernando Alonso or Pierre Gasly? It's a tough one to start. I took the two drivers that have switched teams as well.
Yeah.
Two-time world champion, maybe a not so good car, or yes, a race winner, but in a perhaps slightly better car.
So it's more of experience versus youth, if you like.
In a way, yeah. You could, yeah.
I think Fernando Alonso might qualify higher than Pierre Gasly, because I think, although judging by last season, I'm just guessing, Fernando did qualify higher than Gasly last year in races. That's what I'm thinking. So I think he's going to qualify higher, whether it's in the top 10 or top 15, I don't know, but I think Alonso will qualify higher than Gasly. What do you think?
I'm going to go the opposite. I think Gasly will out-qualify Alonso in Bahrain. I think just because Alpine are, I know they've essentially lost time on last year according to testing, but I still think Alpine have got a slightly quicker car, certainly based on where Aston Martin were last year and where I think Alpine were best of the rest last year, fourth place. So, and I think, yeah, Gasly doesn't have as much experience as Alonso, but he's still a damn good driver. So I can just see Alpine with just the pace of the car more than anything, outdoing Aston Martin. But again, who knows? I mean, the testing times could be spot on, and Alpine could be back of the grid. Who knows? But yeah, I can just see Gasly out qualifying Alonso this Sunday.
So Sunday race day. Who's your top three? Race winner, second place, third place. Who's your podium for the opening race of the season?
I'm going to go with Carlos Sainz to win the opening Grand Prix of the season. for no real reason, to be honest. I just prefer him to win over Leclerc. I don't really know why. I'll go Verstappen second and Leclerc third.
Verstappen second, Leclerc third. Perez to finish the top four.
I'm going to go Russell fourth, Hamilton fifth, Perez sixth.
Wow. Wow. Perez sixth. Wow. That's okay. All right. So top three, third place. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Russell on the third place. Yeah. Mercedes got on the podium last year with Hamilton, so I think Russell will do it. Second place, Carlos Sainz. I think, you know, yeah, Carlos Sainz for second place. And first place, I think, as a world champion, I think you should kick off your season well and defend your crown. So, Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen third, Carlos Sainz second, and George Russell in the Mercedes to complete the podium. I think that's a pretty good prediction. But we'll see on Sunday.
Even though I think the last 6 years, the winner of the opening Grand Prix hasn't then gone on to win the championship.
Oh gosh! And
maybe that curse will be broken this year.
So Leclerc won it last year, but he ended up finishing second. That is interesting. That is very interesting. So, the Bahrain preview. Who knows? Will Fernando Alonso qualify ahead of Pierre Gasly? And will Max Verstappen finish the race in Bahrain? Or even win it? Who knows? Right. Another thing. One thing we know about F1 is that they like to do a lot of partnership deals, if you like. You know, we've got sponsorships, all that kind of stuff. Money. What was it that Lewis Hamilton said? What last season?
Cash is king.
Ago? He said, that's it. Yeah. You know, money always talks. If anything happens with contracts, sponsorship deals with F1, money is always involved. Which leads me on to this. F1 earlier today announced that they have agreed a 15-year partnership with Tottenham Football Club to host a karting, I think, partnership.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure on the sort of details of it, but a 15-year partnership between F1 and a football club, which is not something I saw coming. It's not why. I mean, Tottenham Hotspur isn't what I immediately think of when I think Formula One and motorsport. But yeah, they're going to build like an indoor karting track underneath the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which seems to be. I mean, are there going to be karting races going on when there's a Premier League match? Who knows? Would be interesting. Yeah, I think they're also going to do like a drivers' academy sort of thing, trying to tap into to perhaps new talent in London, perhaps to try and unearth more things like diversity. I think is the main thing. Different socioeconomic backgrounds, things like that. Try and get people into motorsport. Essentially, for people from as I say, diverse background, socioeconomic, low socioeconomic background. Yeah, hopefully it works. But yeah, a 15-year partnership is a long time. But then I suppose it does need to be that long. If they are going to build a karting track underneath a football ground, and also actually try and develop some talented drivers. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, as I said, certainly not something I saw coming in this week.
Because I saw this, when I looked at this for the first time, I thought, okay, F1 has already got the W series, like the feeder series as well. And I think one or two other F1 teams have their own like on the side driver academies and stuff like that. I know Mercedes have quite a junior academy as well, where they have some junior drivers doing some, you know, like karting stuff as well. So I think it's a good thing with what they're doing, just as just as long as, like, they keep up with it, because sometimes you can go into these like sponsorship deals, and then sometimes down the years you never hear from them again, like what's the progress on it, updates and stuff like that, and our drivers really coming through. So I think it's a good thing, but I just hope that both F1 and the football club, you know bring some sort of like improvements, developments on it, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah. And are we going to have someone like Harry Kane or Heung-Min Son on the grid in 5 years' time? I'd like to see that.
Who knows? That would be great. Um, so again, just to round off, what are you looking forward to the most this season? Or if you if you had one bold prediction of what would happen this season, what would it be?
That's quite broad. I can go anywhere with this. One prediction with this. I'm going to go with a team other than the top three are going to win a race. Someone like a McLaren or an Alpine or an Aston Martin. I think one of those teams are going to win a race. I think there's going to be something like, was it Monza 2020 and 21, where you had Gasly winning 2020 and Ricciardo in 21. I'm going to have another one of those. For some reason, I mean, it might be Monza again. That seems to throw up a few hiccups lately, if you like. Yeah,
Or
a
we
team
or we could
team other than the top three.
or we could have someone similar to Ocon winning somewhere in maybe France, or I don't know. Yeah, no, France Grand Prix is not happening this year. Sorry. Yeah, France
Is it
isn't
not?
happening this
No,
year, is it?
I forgot about that.
No. Well,
We've got so many races on the calendar, and not one of them is France.
I mean, I don't mind it, to be honest, because only because the runoff area is quite
Yeah,
funny. Like, I mean, if I look at it for too long, my eyes are gonna be like, oh, I can't stand it no more. One bold thing that will happen this season. Um, we are going to have at least uh, we're going to have at least 4 races this season to have safety cars in. Yeah, at least 4 races to have safety cars in it. Um,
I'd say that's
and
playing. I'd say that's playing it a bit safe. I reckon
Well,
half of them are going to have safety cars in it at least.
half. Wow.
Yeah,
All right. Should we say half the season then?
I'd go half the season. Yeah,
Half the season to have safety cars in it. Not one of. Okay. Half the season. Well, if that makes sense, it wouldn't make sense to say if half the season comes in it and then not to happen in the first 5 races, because then it wouldn't. You know what I mean?
I'd say not for a safety car to not happen in the first 5 races is more bold than half the season. I'm just looking at the calendar and just looking at how many street circuits there are. Because
Yeah.
you got Saudi Arabia, Australia, Azerbaijan, and Miami to kickstart the season before we go to besides Bahrain, obviously, and then we go to Imola, which is again a proper track, but then we're back at Monaco, another street circuit.
Well, that's bound to have a safety car in Monaco.
I mean, you've
Alright,
got
then let's
you
keep
got
it.
Monaco and Singapore, so there's two guaranteed, I think.
Yeah. Alright then. I'm gonna stick with my original. Half the season to have safety cars in it. So of 23 races,
11, 12.
11, 12 of them. Yeah. Yeah. Alright then. 11, 12 of them to have safety cars in it. Gosh, that's gonna be
We got to keep track.
wow. We've got to keep track of that. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of F1 Stop Show. Bahrain this weekend. ready your seats, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to go racing again. And who knows? Can Max Verstappen defend his crown, or are we going to see a midfield, a great midfield battle between Aston Martin, McLaren, Alpine, and can the bottom teams like Williams, Haas, and Alfa Romeo spring up a surprise? Who knows? Well, it's all it's all left for the track this weekend in Bahrain. I've been your host, Sam Oney, and it's a goodbye from me. Bye bye, and it's a goodbye from Wes.
Bye bye.
And we hope you enjoy the race this weekend on Sunday in Bahrain.